Kayfabe Avenue.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please. Justifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in. But the cream rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, heels and faces, casual wrestling fans, and all you smart marks. I'm Richie Moon,
And I'm Kayfabe AJ.
And I'm Kayfabe Focus.
and this is Kayfabe Avenue. And last night we had some wrestling. Were you gentlemen sports entertained last night?
I
I
was
was very sports.
definitely sports entertained last night.
Survivor Series last night from the Allstate Arena in Chicago. We had the War Games, and then we had the biggest returns. We had Randy Orton. We had CM Punk, and then we had the Ultimate.
Our truth.
Our truth. We've been
Finally.
waiting for
Comedy God.
I
was so
can't even
good that
count how
Richie
long we've
disappeared
been
real
waiting
quick.
for our truth's return to the WWE. It's like the biggest moment in like WWE history, honestly. The
He's like the
24/7,
greatest
7-Eleven, Intercontinental,
I-90,
European,
I-95, I-95
I-95
South,
North, I-95 South,
Kentucky Continental Championship.
Continental Champion, our truth. But no, seriously, our truth is back. We have Randy Orton, who looks more jacked than ever seen in his entire career. Like you can tell, he was not sitting at home just eating potato chips or something. He was in that gym.
He's eating Ruffles.
I don't know. Yeah, he was definitely eating Ruffles for sure. If anything, we know this week wrestling is sponsored by Ruffles.
Yeah,
right? They made that shit a point.
Punk looked good too. Punk looked good. He looked like he put on, you know what I'm saying, some muscle.
Bigger. That
Looked
was
happy.
the big, obviously that was the big thing going into this SummerSlam. People
Our
were
truth is looking like he just entered the performance center.
Right.
Yo, he
our truth don't age.
Yo,
he's a vampire.
The black don't crack, right? He's definitely like de-aging as he goes on. But obviously CM Punk was the big story going into Survivor Series. The whole week people speculating, is he coming back? Is he not coming back? Does this overshadow Randy Orton's return? And then WWE smartly throwing swerves throughout the week. They had
Shinsuke Nakamura with GTS. They had Corey Graves saying lines from CM Punk promos. They've been teasing it for a minute. So Triple H during the scrum last night said that it came together last minute, but they've been low key teasing it for a while. So
they've known that they were going to be in talks, but the actual contract didn't happen until Survivor Series actually happened. So you know, people were debating whether he was coming or not. He was being teased as the devil over in AEW. He was, you know, diving into that, feeding the conspiracies. They threw a last minute storyline of Randy Orton might not show up. He wasn't there for the team throughout the whole night. So we'll get more on that. Let's just run down Survivor Series real quick. It started with the women's war game match. Damage Control versus Charlotte, Bianca, Becky, and Shotzi Black. Shotzi Black, all right.
They don't use her last name anymore, but yeah.
And, right? Like I felt weird saying it. Like just Shotzi then.
I mean, technically, because you know who Blackheart is and stuff like that. That's already a given name and such to Tommaso.
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah. So they had Shotzi versus Damage Control. I didn't even realize that Dakota Kai is still injured.
Bro, I was wondering where she was at.
Yeah, like I thought this whole time going in, I thought that they were missing a partner, and there was gonna be a mystery person to debut for the women as well. But turns out Dakota Kai is injured, but she was also a part of the match on the sidelines, you know, poking Becky with kendo sticks. Honestly, I'd say that the women's match held up as you know, it's a series of war games that we've experienced and can arguably be deemed the better war games match in my opinion. I think it was more well put together, more tag team moves, more use of weapons, a little bit more devastation than the men. What the men had for me was the storylines going in. A couple of spots that we're gonna see for the rest of our lives watching WWE, anything pertaining to Orton and War Games, we're gonna see this spot for the rest of our lives. But I think the women really pulled off the better match in a lot of ways. What do you guys think about that?
What do you think about that, Focus?
I think that it was a great idea to have Io do that top cage spot again where, you know, she puts on the trash can and just pretends and then pretends to be insert your worst favorite wrestler into it. I can't think of anything right now. But I thought it was great. And also that moonsault that Charlotte did.
The
That was
moonsault Charlotte
amazing.
did. Asuka doing the double drop kick to the trash can.
Mhm.
It just
Yeah.
a lot of
It was
stuff.
a good match.
Kyrie
It was
coming
a
off the
great
top.
way to open up Survivor Series.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, I thought we were gonna see a little bit
Oh, there you go. Wait. The
control.
flying Ryback. That's what we're gonna call it.
Flying right back. Oh, you know what? Ryback should be retired.
Speaking of,
Twitter,
Okay. So right. So
even
people
though I
don't
thought
know
he was already
Ryback's
retired, because who the fuck is gonna hire Ryback? But he
the
said
NWA.
CM Punk debuts tonight. Well, yes, last night that he would retire. So I don't want to hear these polls of where you want to go. X, Y.
but he recently he said because he didn't return to AEW. He said if he'd returned to AEW, then he would
Like, yo, bro,
retire.
no.
But now he's backtracking. He's kind of backtracking
Oh,
on.
he already backtracked on Twitter.
Yep,
Oh,
already.
Yeah, he's already backtracking. He's already
Already
oh
backtracking.
man,
backtracking.
yeah,
But yeah,
man of your word, huh? Ryback.
right. We get on to this. I mean, well, hey, all
You
I
gotta
got to
speak.
really say about the women's war game matches, it was a great way to open. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of storylines that they can spin out of it, and I'm excited for the Royal Rumble when Jay Cargill comes in, debuts, and wins.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. We'll get into that too. We had a media scrum. Triple H let out a lot of good details about what's happening around WWE. But we'll move on after the women's war game match, which um
War games.
War games.
Charlotte, Becky, Bianca, and Shotzi ended up winning. We had a good moment between Becky and Charlotte, them embracing each other. They're friends. We already know the Four Horsemen story, so bitter rivals trying to come together for a cause. They ended up having a moment that was pretty cool. Probably gonna see that long when they retire and they have video packages together. It's definitely gonna be a moment they highlight as well.
I think it's gonna be a part of the storyline.
Yeah, maybe.
Do we want to see another Becky versus?
We don't need to, right? We don't need to.
No. It's not gonna be Becky versus Charlotte. It's gonna be Becky, Charlotte, and Bailey versus the damage control once they kick Bailey out.
Well, that makes sense. That would make sense. That's what I was saying. I thought there was gonna be a little bit more dissension in the ranks with damage control, but they were a well-oiled machine. Bailey ended up being like the captain of the
MVP.
team and really holding them together the whole match.
Shout out to Triple H or whoever booked that. It's just good storytelling. Whenever,
I don't think Triple H
when
is
you
actually
go,
producer of the matches anymore.
no, but just
Shane Helms and a couple of people back there.
When you think they're gonna zig, they zag. So shout out to the.
If it was the women, I'm pretty sure Tyson Kidd had a hand in the women's matches. He's the one that usually has the reins on production for those.
If only AEW could find somebody just like him.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Right.
So
let's move on to the next match.
The next match was The Miz versus Gunther.
Gunther.
Honestly, the way I felt coming into this match is like Miz is an obvious heel. But having him against super heel career-wise, Miz is an obvious heel throughout his career. Having him against Gunther being the super heel he's been over, having the monster reign he's had with the Intercontinental Championship. You have one of the proclaimed like greatest of all time, Intercontinental Champions in The Miz, and then we have the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion, arguably the greatest in his own right. Miz easily fits in the heel role, in the face role. He didn't do anything different. This is what I'm saying. Miz is a natural heel. He's always been a heel. But even in this moment, he fits in the place where even though you're a heel, you were the good guy. People were cheering the low blows or the dirty
But
tactics.
they've been building Miz as a babyface though. Like in the build up to this match, they've been turning they turned Miz face, and I was surprised by that because they've tried to turn Miz face in the past and it just didn't work. So that's just kudos to I think the writing and how they're presented it, because I think Miz is just a natural heel and just him as babyface is just like it's mad, but it worked. The crowd was behind him. The crowd has been behind him on the Raws leading up to this match. So and kudos to Miz for just being able to do both.
Yeah, and he
definitely deserves it.
And it was a good match. My bad. I'm gonna cut you off. This was a good match. The way that worked, Mizik chopping, taking down his legs, because a lot of his big guy, taking down his legs. It was a well worked match. I never believed that Miz was going to win, but there was a lot of good 1-2-oohs.
Yeah, but what I was trying to say was he's also not the kind of face right now that's like, oh, I'm not gonna do bad things. I'm gonna still be Miz. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I needs to take. And I think that's the way you book a face Miz.
Are you trying to say that Miz is our scumbag?
He should be our scumbag, yeah. But
God damn it.
Technically he's a Miz bag. He's a Miz bag.
A Miz bag. But it was a good match. I didn't think Miz was gonna pull it off, but if he did, I wouldn't have been mad. He would have made history as well, tying with Chris Jericho for the most reigns. So that would have been a big thing. And I think at this point, with Jericho's legacy out of WWE at this point, somebody needs to take over that.
But they did mention it though. Shout out to commentary. It's one big difference I noticed in
shout out to Triple H that is not.
They let him,
and they're not trying to erase history.
Right. They let the commentator just commentate because all last night they was mentioning people from all. I mean, they wasn't saying they referenced All In last night with Cody.
Saying
they didn't say it, but they referenced it.
To the War Games match, I was surprised that they mentioned all of the tag teams, even the ones in Japan, that Kairi, Asuka, and Io Sky were all involved in. So
they mentioned Ric Flair, Chris Jericho.
That's something that Vince's WWE always strayed away from and ignored. And this is another example of Triple H's WWE, where it's like, no, we're gonna acknowledge the important shit. It's gonna be our stars. He's finally presenting everybody in a great way. So
he's really trying to push. Y'all y'all be happy about this. That he's really trying to really push hard for I mean, he's already done it with more Latina stars, but international stars to really get more shine. So
WWE always been trying to. WWE's been trying to get Latin American stars for a while. Just that most of the good ones never spoke Spanish. But now with Santos Escobar, he speaks terrific English, and so does Dragon Lee. So now they're able to have these promos and go into these matches that I feel confident.
Perfect segue.
Yeah, it's true.
So Santos Escobar got a promo.
Perfect segue. Santos Escobar, the way he's been booked recently, he instantly made that flip into the heel character, and this is another thing about booking.
This is NXT. This is NXT. Not to take anything away from it, but Triple H is just slowly turning the main roster just into NXT. He told you he was doing this years ago. He called the show's takeover. He wasn't even subtle about it.
No, it's true, but just the storytelling that's going on, all of the villains, all the heels on the show, they're not heels. They're not villains. They're actually justified in their actions. It's not a stupid, I'm just bad to be bad for the moment. It's literally evolutions through character. Santos switch over, been teased since him fighting Rey Mysterio for honor. and then Rey Mysterio taking his place, getting the United States Championship, LWO, not getting really pushed to the forefront, having Carlito join, he's not even repping LWO colors, which is true. Santos Escobar was justified in every action he did in reality.
Those make the best
He
villain.
went over the top, which makes him the heel, but it's like he has the justifications in his character, and Triple H is doing that with all the characters being used right now. So that was amazing.
You know what LWO needs right now?
Some cool
Some Baboni.
Baboni. This was not planned. Oh, by the way,
yeah, I mean that's what two people wearing a Bad Bunny shirt would say. So.
Definitely not.
A little bit Bad Bunny. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Bad Bunny's gonna come back up pretty soon. The Royal Rumble is coming up, so yeah, I'm pretty sure Bad Bunny, depending on his tour schedule,
definitely
probably
see a Logan Paul versus Bad Bunny for the title. I definitely
that'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be fun. But yeah, this Dragon Lee Santos Escobar match was really good. It was really good. Dragon Lee has always been on fire. If it's your first time seeing him, but yeah, Santos Escobar, he's really bringing that NXT fire back, and it's working. This is a really good match, and like it's important that they just have stories, not just going out there having a match for the sake of just having a good match, just because these guys can wrestle. Everybody can wrestle. A lot of characters.
Imagine they give Dragon Lee his own stable and they call it the Ungovernables.
Shut up. Yeah.
It's like the club is the Ungovernables.
We don't get that. We see what's happening with the club or what's not.
I mean, technically they could do Axiom and the other match that they get.
Maybe mid 2000s is supply. I don't know.
All we need is the LWO. To be honest,
Babone.
That's all we really need. But good match. Santos Escobar coming out strong, getting the victory.
Right.
So,
and they protected Dragon Lee because he did it kind of. No, actually, no, it was clean. It was slight shenanigans. Something with the ref. I think there was like not a ref bump, but there was a little ref distraction or something like that. But I mean, Santos still looks clean. Dragon Lee still looks good. So
yeah. And there's more story spinning on that. We still got Carlito needing to return, get his comeback. Whenever Rey Mysterio comes back, he needs.
We'll be back in like another month.
So we already have a lot of storylines built up for Santos Escobar. Right now he could continue the feud with Dragon Lee for a little bit, leading into WrestleMania, so he could either fight Carlito or Rey at WrestleMania. I want to see what the use of the LWO is going to look like over the next couple of weeks. We don't have Carlito and we don't have Rey. There's no real leader now in LWO. So will they become Santos' old group, Legado del Fantasma? Will he take over LWO and put them into a heel stable, which I think should have been what it should have been from the beginning. So we'll see over the next couple weeks. Next match was the Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark.
Yeah, quick match. We were talking off camera. We were talking off camera, and Rhea Ripley is in angles, like is in the championship angles. She's in main event angles. She's all over, but her actual run it's kind of mid, and it's mid because WWE has unfortunately not built up any credible contenders for her to go up against. Nobody really believes since she's become champion, she hasn't gone up against anybody that we have really thought, oh, Mommy might lose tonight. It's been good matches. There's been storylines there, but we've never been like, nah, Mommy's gonna lose this.
Yeah. So my response to that was, I think the opposite. Like, Rhea has been put in a position where not only is she a leader for the roster, she's leading the best faction out right now, Judgment Day, and it's full of men, and she's technically the leader of that group. She's one of the biggest spotlights of that group. So she's carrying a lot of brands. If you think about it, NXT has Judgment Day, SmackDown has Judgment Day, Raw has Judgment Day. She's the face of everything right now. Not only that, she has a feud with Backwell Rodriguez
Blackwell.
coming up. We have whenever Liv Morgan comes back, that's another feud. They've been keeping Becky far away from her, so that's a feud that could come up. Not only that, she's building stars. Zoe's in that zone right now. We have Shayna Baszler coming off the Ronda win. She's in the mix right now. There's a couple of women being built, and I think Rhea is that foundation. So they're giving her run. Like there's no one else in history as a woman who's been given this much of the ball to run with. Let's be real. You could say she's the leader of that faction. And most people will say, yeah, you're right. Yep. Women's champion, holding down multiple shows, creating a new women's division. SmackDown got it easy. You have Charlotte, you have Bianca, you have Asuka, you have Io, you have Bayley, you already have a division that's built. Rey is building a new division. So I see it completely opposite. Her reign is actually developing more than Io Sky's reign.
For the future, I agree with you. I agree with everything you said. And I think for the future, but right now, there is nobody credible except for the woman on SmackDown. You know, like Becky, Charlotte, Bianca, and the incoming Jade Cargill whenever she debuts. But other than that, there's really nobody credible that Rhea Ripley can go in a match with that we'd be like, mommy's gonna lose.
Well, Tiffany Stratton's gonna win. Tiffany Stratton's gonna win the title of Watch.
We also have
She's been coming up.
They haven't
right.
Okay, Tiffany Stratton one-on-one.
Right.
Tiffany Stratton, you know why? Because she's dating one of the Imperium members, and she's getting better in the ring.
But yeah, I mean, I like what Mommy's doing, but I want them to build up another woman.
So, I already know Tiffany Stratton is going to be somebody like worth watching. That match.
Charlotte even mentioned her during the scrum last night. Yeah, Charlotte mentioned during scrum. Oh, shout out to Sir Wilkins from the Jobbeteer podcast from being in the scrum and actually asking Charlotte and Becky those questions.
Yeah.
And not talking about Taylor Swift.
So obviously the last match on the card was the men's War Games.
War Games.
So War Games. Like I said, I think the women's match had the edge over the men, but the men had the better kind of intrigue with what's gonna happen.
The return.
Randy didn't show up until the very end. He was the last entrant in the match. Throughout the night, Kim Orton was going live, so she teased that he was going to be there. There was like just so many swerves throughout the night. He ended up showing up. They have the spot where they have JD McDonough being held up by I forgot who was. Was it Cody? No, it was Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn on top of the cage. They fling him off into an RKO.
Yeah.
So that spot is gonna be shown for the rest of our lives.
And when they all had him for the draping DDT, all five of them, Randy's team had him for the draping DDT. Yeah, it was fun. Randy looked fucking amazing, guys. Jacked. Glad he's back.
Give that man some kind of title. He looks like he's ready for a monster run. As big as he's come back, like I've never seen Randy Orton in that shape ever, and he's never been a slouch. Right. But he looks like he's ready for a run. Like, where's him versus the Tribal Chief coming up?
I mean, the storyline is there. You know, they built the
storyline is there, and which it was another thread that they pulled in this match. Orton teased hitting Jey Uso with the RKO. That almost happened during the match, so they still have the opportunity to pull on that string. They didn't really settle it, but they Jey Uso showed that he's on the good side. He ended up making somebody eat a super kick to save Randy Orton, so they continue to coexist throughout the match. But we have that threat to be pulled. There's a lot of things coming out of that match. Obviously, the good guys all won. After that RKO, it was over. As a kind of homage to Steve Radio and let Cody get the pin.
Yeah, I don't think Damian Priest should have taken. I don't think Damian Priest should have taken a pin. It's just a wrestling nerd in me. You have a perfect JD McDonough that just got RKO'd from out of everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Yeah, that
so
check on that man.
Right, he should have just he should have just taken the pin just because Damian Priest is Mr. Money in the Bank.
I don't think
I just don't think he needed to take the
pin. Priest loses momentum. I think if anything,
he doesn't, but he just didn't need to take the pin.
I think if anything, it makes people lose a little faith for the eventual cash. They did tease the cash in before Orton came out, and that's how it got fumbled with Orton finally coming out. They get the win. Triple H smartly, from what people are saying online, a lot of the reporters saying that Triple H took over the show within the last 5 minutes. People didn't even know. Most of the people didn't know about CM Punk. The people who needed to know knew, but they kept it on the low. He took over the show, ran the logo to close the night, and then boom, CM Punk's music hits. Surprise return of CM Punk. So the match itself good. I think Survivor Series was a hit for the most part. It wasn't too long, which it didn't need to be, and the focus was on the two main gimmick matches. So worth a watch. Definitely worth a watch. So
it was a good show. I see a lot of people talking about like show of the year and all that. I don't personally agree with that, but I thought it was a good PLE. It had a lot of big returns, but this wouldn't be in my category for show of the year. I think there've been better PLEs.
No, especially this year. Yeah. WWE has been on a run, and I don't think this pay-per-view stops that run. I think it holds up.
Absolutely.
Of the year.
Broken other records. Like Triple H talked about that during the Scrum that this broke this, highest gross in Survivor Series.
Yeah, it made more.
They had to actually make their set smaller. They actually didn't have the big LED screen that they were going to have, so they can fit.
And I appreciated that they did that because you needed as much people in that building. That pop for CM Punk was ridiculous. So, let's get final thoughts on the War Games Survivor Series. You got any final thoughts on that before we move on to the topic?
How much money you think In Living Color made off of that one song just because of CM Punk? Because that's like at least 5 returns, bro. 5 different times they released that song.
No, not only that, they just remade the song.
Right, exactly.
That's another reason why I wasn't surprised CM Punk came out. Like, why would Living Color have to redo the song? Maybe because they just redid it for AEW, so you got to redub it again, so it's not the same shit.
Yep.
So
I bet there's like slight
because right before CM Punk came out in AEW, they released a remastered version of the song.
The way the music industry is working now, anytime an artist redoes a song, they can re-release it on other things and make new royalties off that.
Right. So
this is about like the 5th time CM Punk returned.
Right.
How many singles do you think was sold from this?
A lot.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of fans that are going in on the song this weekend. I'll tell you that.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, War Games. Survivor Series was good. It was cool.
You might as well for War Games.
Yeah, it did what it needed to do.
That's one thing. I kind of wish they would bring back at least the traditional Survivor Series elimination match.
So would I.
That's the only thing that was missing. And I get it. It was 2 major team matches that were already built, but I think they could have at least used the traditional one to.
They could have.
They should have had Otis and people like that.
They should have made this War Games and made an NXT Takeover Survivor Series.
Right.
Nah, I don't think.
Yeah, you could have had some NXT. Yeah, you could have had some NXT guys in there.
NXT Survivor Series for the pre-show.
I feel like they only had 5 matches.
I could get with. You mean the traditional elimination match just featuring NXT?
Yeah, in the pre-show as
I,
a
I
as an
think I think that's a
NXT
good idea too.
like
Yeah.
instead of having like because NXT has their own pay-per-view names now. So instead of like keeping it as a takeover, have takeover be the buy-ins and that's the next in
I don't think
line.
they even
Like,
need to take over name anymore.
they don't. That's why you should
Yeah.
have it as instead of saying the pre-show, say the NXT takeover leading into the premium live event.
Because
Yeah.
Triple H is already taken over, so he
It's
doesn't
already
need to
took.
call it takeover anymore.
Now you know,
Yeah.
don't need to take over. We are already here.
So
Already
that
here.
way you can have Survivor Series. The pre-show is NXT Survivor Series takeover, and then you have your two Survivor Series matches in the pre-show. I'm surprised they didn't have anything on the pre-show.
Trips
Yeah.
don't really like that, yo. Trips don't
Pre-show
really like
show.
that.
The pre-show was just showing us Booker T freezing his ass off in Chicago weather. Like,
And honestly, I'd
Booker
rather
outside.
the Survivors. I'd rather Survivor Series see them do the Survivor Series though.
Right, that part. Yeah, that part.
All right, let's
All right.
take a quick break.
There was no shucky ducky quack quack on that one.
Go shucky ducky quack quack. So let's shucky ducky our asses to these advertisers real quick, pay some bills, and we'll be right back after this break.
Good.